When I'm not using patterns, I tend to, at this point I have an idea like what shape something's supposed to be, so I tend to cut out something in the relative size I need it, and then fit it, and then cut it. Very haphazard. Like when I'm not doing cosplay, I write and I paint and I draw, and like if there's something that I can create with like my photography, then I'll do it. And with cosplay, there's just so many different avenues for artists. You can paint and you can sew and you can, there are guys that make costumes without sewing at all. They use foam or they use Worbla, and then there's a lot of problem solving involved, and there's a lot of artistic license. There's a room over here in our house. It is my craft room, and it's just chock-a-blocked, full of, like, the whole closet is nothing but costumes. And my yellows and some greens and more pinks. I have a pink problem. So like eventually this whole rack will come to the convention with me. Because you learn so much so fast, especially now where there's YouTube and whatnot. There's so many resources to learn from other cosplayers and so much collaboration. Even now here in the city, there's so many other cosplayers that you can learn from. You quickly learn how to do something better and then immediately hate everything you've ever done. I've learned how to dye clothes and use fabric paint and by hand embroidery and crafting everything out of sculpey, like clay, and we get into resin, and now I'm starting to get into the foam thing too. I haven't had many costumes that wanted to use foam, but now I really want to do a Wonder Woman. So now we're going to learn foam, so that's okay. Hopefully I'll put some boning in it, I'll put some starch on it, I'll put the foam on it, so hopefully it'll stiffen the fabric up, but the fabric will help keep it tight. Go and trim this off. But I was never totally in love with the suit. And now with the coming out with the movie, what they've done for her, what they've given her is just a fantastic piece. It's really functional, but it looks nice, but it's still got the little bit comic book aspect to it. Like they gave her a wedge heel just to make her taller. So they took a bit of license with it. So I'll show this piece. And I think I'm holding it in the right spot. Looks it. Looks it. And bevelly. And I'll bevel the edges a little bit so that they're a little more worn, like they look on hers. And hopefully then I'll put a little elastic there in the back to go underneath my hair. Same thing to her armband, and there'll be a little Velcro going to be the belt. Haven't got myself with the heat gun or the wood burning tool yet, so I'm doing alright. For now. And that gets hot, and it will burn into the craft foam just like it would with wood. So the finished product, what's going to happen here is I'll likely end up heating it with this, and so that I can form it more around my own hips. There we go. Okay, so without me holding it now, it will fold that shape. Yeah, just constructing the bodice on its own. I guess if I measured it in movies, it's probably been like 8 or 10 hours just constructing that. But now I don't want to include all the time that I tried on the other two versions of that failed miserably. Yeah. Mostly because it's supposed to look semi-metallic. So I put the black on, and then I brush the red over it, and then the same way that metal edges would get distressed. So you don't really mind if there's a dent or a crack somewhere, because real metal would take a hit. It's just mistakes end up just being battle damage. So I'm not usually too concerned. Yeah, I guess originally I tried to wear foam was a new medium for me. I tried to maybe stick with what I knew and thought that that sewing corseted piece would help it be more fitted and would be something more familiar for me to work with. And then I was like, no, the foam's not really taking to it. It's not holding the structure as well as I would like. So in the end I just went full foam, but I did reinforce the seams on the foam with pleather on the inside of it. So I got to kind of meld them together, I guess, in the end, but yeah, that whole thing got scrapped. I'm going to want to get the edges, so let's put the front stitches there. Fiber, so it doesn't need to be completely perfect, doesn't need to completely cover it. But it will make my rainbow foam piece one color. The color that'll peek out from underneath will be the black, and not the white or the red or the blue or the pink or the fluorescent green that's in the back. And you'll watch the white stuff just disappear. Just kind of have to not care about what I'm getting on my hands because I don't want fingerprints in it. I don't want the paint to be too thick around the little star, or I'm just going to lose the shape of it. I'll use a little detail brush, my smaller brush. It's going to be cool to see it all one color. But cost-wise, it's not too bad because I probably used like $15 worth of foam. But if I need to, I think I might reinforce it a bit and like right here on the inside and right here on the back put some corset boning. Like, in a normal corset, you know, you fit corset not fit you. And this is an extreme version of that, but more so for my own comfort, I think. And it's currently permanently attached on this side, but to get into it, I'm going to put like a snap or Velcro or something on this side, so when I get into it, it'll zip up, and then this will snap together. So the thing about movie costumes is nobody thinks about, like, physics. Like, you have to get in it. I have to get out of it. Looks a bit cooler when it's not, like, the colors of a nursery, by the way. It's practically black. I have like a red coppery color in there, so I'm going to put the copper color with the red. And so it looks a bit metallic, and then put a shinier finish over the whole thing. And you want to curl it tighter than what you're going to do, because it is going to release a little bit again. I'm not too worried about it staying in this shape because it needs to have 2 leather straps attached to the back of it to hold it to my arm. But Wonder Woman is, she is that quintessential modern female superhero. When you ask even people who aren't into comic books, who they can name that's a female superhero, everyone has a pretty short list, and she's on it. It moved well, and I think I'm going to do a little bit of more heating on the top to just fit it a bit closer to my body, looking at the pictures up top, the chest piece. But for the most part, it's just stayed together, and it's still stayed together, and it fit me, and I was able to walk in it, so I think that's a success. There's another piece with another piece of Velcro to stick to it. It's hiding. I have no idea where it went. She's an Amazon. She's from an all-female culture. They're not going to worry about how distracting men or their modesty, or they're just going to worry about moving and what's functional. And I'm also a big kid and a big dork. So to be able to dress up like as an adult all the time and do the hair and the makeup, and it's just fun.
So those things, I know you can stare epically at the pizza place type